Here's to hoping that the background noise will not be distracting. There's a street sweeper out there sweeping winter away, making room for spring. I'm going to get started in a minute. Welcome to today's installment of the 20-minute academy. Thanks for joining me or watching the replay on the new website. Today we talk about what to talk about on social media, and I hope you're finding your way out of the speechlessness out there, and can be a little scary, and I have a few examples. Before we get started, you see on the right of your screen, you see a chat bar, and that is really the advantage of joining the webinar in real time at the time, because if you're not here, you can't ask any questions or leave comments. So if you are not joining this live, make sure that you're joining us next week. Today I had to move the webinar to 10 a.m., but usually we have it on Wednesdays, every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And it's only 20 minutes, that's why it's called the 20-minute academy. You're still welcome if you're watching this as a recording, and I really appreciate your comments underneath here, or if you want to find a more private forum, just send me an email or send me a message through my Facebook page. Let's get started with, I've got a few slides prepared. I'm going to start sharing them instead of my face. There we are. And I'm hoping that you see this now. Yeah, you do. Okay. So I am, my name is Fritjof Petscheleit. I'm with Bluebird Business Consulting, and that used to be called tweetforok.com. And now I am Bluebird Business Consulting. I'm a digital media strategist. I do websites. I help people with their WordPress. I do social media training like I did this morning with the Kelowna Chamber of Commerce. I help people with their email marketing, and I do a little bit of social media management for clients outsourced. So most of the time when I talk to new clients or want to join social media, and we're trying to find the best way for them to do this without just posting stuff, what I have nothing to say is often what I hear. I've got nothing to say. I'm just running my business for 20 years, and everybody knows what I'm doing, and my business is really boring, and I don't know what to say. So far, I've yet to see any business that does not have any stories to tell. Some are a little bit harder to do. It also depends on what market you're in. It's a little bit harder to engage people if you are in a business-to-business setting. But more and more people connect to people rather than big brands, even in that B2B space. And it's important to realize that all of this business to consumer and business to business is really a false perception. What we're really selling is people to people, because there's always people making the decisions. So really, as I always say, social media is real life. So what you talk about with people in person is a good start to post on your social media channels. I've borrowed these slides from my friends at Constant Contact out of a presentation, How to Grow Your Business on Social Media, and it's really convenient because that's exactly what we're talking about, is what to talk about in your newsletter or on Twitter or on Facebook, in your blog, or in any other way. But again, we're talking about the same things. We're talking to people about that we meet at networking events or in your store. So what it comes down to is what interests people is what they know and what you know and they don't. Do you have any tricks? Do you have any recipes that you want to share? How you can help them? Do you know what your audience needs? What they're interested in, and where they're at. So what you know that they don't, and don't. I often hear, don't give the steak away and sell the sizzle, or whatever that goes. I just read a book by Mark Schaefer, Social Media Explained, and he goes into this very nicely. And we have to, with the influx of social media and so much information that is readily available, we have to get rid of this notion that we can't just give knowledge away. There's always going to be knowledge, and if you're an expert in your field, you will always know things, do things better than others. So don't be afraid of sharing, giving away knowledge. It's not a zero-sum game. You're showing that you're an expert in this field. So what you know that they don't, what you have access to that they don't. So sometimes you have access to research papers that people might not have access to, and you can summarize, or information of upcoming events that aren't even not common knowledge yet. Something that only you have access to and they don't. So tell them a little about bits about that. We just went to a social media conference in Victoria over the weekend. So I and everybody else, or most people, shared their experiences from that. So the people at home or all over the world didn't really have access to that because they didn't take part in that conference. But by following the updates on Twitter and other social media channels, they had access to some of those impressions. So what you have access to that they don't is something that also a lot of businesses don't realize, because you're accessing that information every day, but maybe not everybody has that. And this thing, we're getting to that later as well. Like original isn't required. Just be interesting and relevant. So if you're following my Twitter stream, you see that I often, or mostly actually, tweet information of other people, sharing information of other people that I didn't write, I didn't research, I read, and I confirm that this is valuable information to my followers, but I didn't. It's not my content, and I'm not claiming it to be. So sharing content is also something very important. If you follow my Facebook page or my LinkedIn stream, you see that often the best content is that I've curated, that I've found in other resources, and I'm sharing with you because I think these are important messages. So sharing is not stealing as long as you're honest about it. So how much is enough? That's really a very tricky question. So less is more is a good point. And you should have a focus. So talk about less is more is maybe a little bit misleading. Less in every update. You don't have to write a two-page blog post about everything you have to say. The longer blog posts might be more effective in some ways, but they also take a lot of time. So sometimes it's better to write a short piece that is right to the point and that brings the message across. A short newsletter is better than a long one. Focus on what you really want to say. A short tweet about 100 characters or so is better than one that uses all 140 characters. Try to focus on your message. So that's really important, is that focus on what you really want to say. And often people lose track, including me. I sometimes squeeze too many things into this 20-minute session, as you can notice. But how much is enough does not mean following the old rules of not tweeting more than 5 times a day, or not posting to Facebook more than twice a day. We're all vying for attention. So anytime you have something valuable to share on Twitter, tweet it out there. Talk to people so you get notice, and you start relationships where you can. Same thing on Facebook. Now that Facebook is showing our followers only about 10% of our updates, it's more important to post more interesting stuff more often a day. And don't believe those experts that say that people get upset if you post more than once or twice a day. Remember that a lot of people are using their mobile devices to consume material on social media. So less is more. So as you can, then it's harder to read a long post on a small screen than a short one. So what to write about? Like repurpose and reuse. So if you have an email newsletter or a blog post, often I start with a blog post. That's your opportunity to write the most content in a blog post, and then share a summary of that into your newsletter, and then share your newsletter on your social media channels. And now you have, in this case, we have 5 channels already where we posted a message. If you add the blog, we have already 6. Now, it's careful, because any one of these networks has a different audience and different expectations. So if you have a Pinterest pin, you have to have a powerful image in order to share that. If the updates on Twitter and Facebook are different, so are your updates in LinkedIn. So do not fall into the trap of posting the same message in the same format everywhere. Pictures are great, and that's why Instagram and video apps are so successful. And I'm not quite sure why this slide is breaking down right now. So posts, pictures and with photos and video have 100% more engagement on Twitter. These numbers are from March 2012. It's probably more so now. Posts and with pictures have 120% more engagement, and to a photo album is even 180% more. So pictures are on the internet are more and more important. That's why I love digital storytelling with apps like Instagram or videos with Vine or with Instagram. And again, 38% of social media users use it on the phone, and that's probably more now. So I wanted to get back into this topic. Sharing is not stealing. Because some people have a wrong perception. So yes, if you find a blog post on the internet and you copy and paste it into your own blog without crediting the source, you don't only get no benefits in the ranking from Google, but you're also stealing that content. You're stealing that intellectual property. But if you quote that blog post in your own content that you're writing and you're linking back to the source, that is sharing. If you are sharing my blog posts to your network on Twitter, that's not claiming that you wrote the blog post. It's sharing that content with your audience. So you might have noticed if you're following me on Twitter that I actually, most of my updates during the day are content that I found on the internet that I deem interesting to my followers, so I'm sharing it. So sharing is not stealing as long as you don't say it's yours. So that's a great way of creating consistent quality content by just finding it and then posting it. More content ideas are answering questions. So that's really the easiest. If you have a business where you have customer questions or inquiries or employees ask questions, those are prime examples for posts. So write a blog post. The number 3 most visited page on my website is a blog post I did in an hour where I explained a question, the answer to a question that a lot of Facebook users have. To this day, it's 2 years old, and with all the Facebook changes, people are still finding their answer there. Questions is it's really easy, but you have to listen to the questions and don't dismiss them. The most basic, I get a lot of basic questions for social media, so I know that this is a burning need for users out there, so it's a no-brainer for me to answer those questions. Video interviews are a great way of creating a lot of good content. So interview people that are supporters or that are have interesting ideas in your business. Backstage stories. We used to do the social media for a bakery in town, and their biggest success stories were when we posted from the back of the kitchen, and we showed people how to make how the bakery made a cake or mix dough and stuff like that. So backstage story goes to what you have access to and they don't. So tell people about your process. Take a picture of your desk where you're preparing that presentation, or if there's a shipment of goods coming in, take some pictures. Case studies. How have you helped people? Case study sounds like a big word. It doesn't need to be a research paper. Just tell the story how you had a client that had a particular problem and you were able to help them. So this is a great way of other people that have a similar problem finding you as an expert. So case studies are awesome material. So let's see if anybody has going to, okay, go back on the sharing here. Drag you over so I look at you. So if nobody has a question, I would like to encourage you to tell me more topics. I have a few topics on the top of my head, but I would like to know, talk about what to talk about social media. I would like to know what your burning questions are. So please feel free to comment on the blog post underneath here on YouTube. This video will be posted, or send me an email. There's a little contact widget in my website that makes it really easy to send me an email. Ask me your questions and I'll be happy to answer them. If that's a question that a lot of people have, I'll make one of these sessions and you're doing other people a service. I also have a few seminars coming up about the Canadian new Canadian spam legislation. Feel free to check those out, and there's 2 webinars and 1 seminar in Kelowna here. Doing a lot of new stuff, working on creating the WordPress instruction videos on my website. That should be up next week. Stay tuned. Next week we'll have another 20-minute academy, this time again at 9 o'clock. And the best way to find those right now is on my Facebook page under events. But as soon as I got the plugin, the calendar fixed on my website, you'll be able to sign up there. So it's always nicer to be live on these in the 20-minute academy. And I'm looking forward to seeing you next week.